a belief in God. I know some people tell me, how can you believe in God? I cannot explain if God really is there, but I know in my mind He is, and that's just in my mind. I can't convince anybody else in this audience to believe Him. But I know for me, a belief in God made my transition that much more easier. Yes, I was extremely frustrated and angry that God had done this to me. You know, I was asking, the number one question on my lips was, dear God, out of all the people in Montreal, why did it have to be Peter? I must have asked this question 600 times. But at a certain point I realized, you know, God is not going to give me my answer, so I have two choices. Either I can be an angry, bitter, resentful young man, or I can accept it and at some point go on and hope that God is there, which I know He is, and will make my life a little bit more interesting. And that's what in the end I did, reluctantly, in a very difficult fashion, but I did, and I know God is there. I know I can feel Him wherever I go, and I'm so grateful that He made me overcome my bitterness and my anger and my fear and my resentment. And I'm here with you guys today talking about these issues. Another thing to help people who are blind overcome their blindness is an extremely good support network. In my case, I've been blessed with an amazing support network. I have my many friends, which I don't want to list them all, just in case I forget someone. And they come up to me on stage and say, hey, how come you didn't say my name? But I've been blessed with great friends and great family who care for me, who call me up periodically. I know they can't because they're busy, but if I hear their voices, it makes my day and my week. Having a strong support network really makes things a lot more easier, because people who are blind, we don't go out as much as we used to. We don't have the economic ability that we did once had. And having good friends, whether it's a phone call or an email, like in my case, or one of my relatives coming and saying, hey, let's go for a coffee. For someone like me, it means the world to me. It makes my journey as a blind person that much more substantial and much more rewarding. So those are, in my opinion, the most important 4 reasons to help you learn and cope and deal with blindness every single day. When I was losing my sight, to my dismay, I lost many of my friends that were excited because of my blindness. I learned very quickly I had to find a different way to cope as a blind person, how to interact with visual people and how to interact with blind people. I lost about maybe a total of 11 friends. They could not relate to me being blind. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to act around me, and they were at a loss what to say and what to do when I was with them. And to my dismay, I lost them. They never called me up again. They never sent me an email again. And I thought to myself, this is not something in the modern 21st century that I live in that it should be happening. It's not like I have leprosy and I have to be isolated from the rest of the world in some island like they did in biblical times. But yet, that's what I experienced. And I would ask my mom and some of my closest friends, why isn't so-and-so calling me? They're like, Peter, they don't know what to do with you. I said, look, I'm still the same Peter. The only difference is I cannot see. That doesn't mean that I should be shunned and excluded by my own friends. Yet, to my dismay, it really, really did happen. And I didn't know what to say or what to do. Recently, I went to a Greek festival here in Park X, And I saw my friend John, who I hadn't seen in almost 7 years since I lost my eyesight. And we were standing outside the church when there was a procession of a very important saint feast that we celebrate in the Greek culture. And he came up to me, he's like, "Are you Peter?" I'm like, "Yes." "And I'm sorry, who are you?" Because I can't see, I can't always judge voices to be correct. I said, "I'm sorry, who are you?" He says, "My name is John." I said, "Well, there's like 30,000 Johns in the community. Can you be more specific?" He says to me, "John, I used to be your childhood friend, and when I found out the news, I disappeared from the scene." I said, "That John?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "I don't need to make you feel uncomfortable, but why did you ditch me? I mean, I'm still the same old Peter. Yes, I'm a little bit different with age and with life experience. We all changed, but I'm still the same." He's like, "I couldn't be around you. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to interact with you." I said, "Well, you know, I'm still the same guy. I'm just a little bit different." He says, "I can see you've adapted really well." I said, "Well, it's been a very difficult road, but to some extent, yes." And he says, "I just wanted to say, and I hope you're not angry with me." I said, "Well, say what you want to say. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to tell you what I think." He says, "I wanted to apologize the way I acted for leaving you at such a difficult time." I said, "Well, you know, I heard you got married and you have 2 kids. I can understand." He's like, "No, it's been bothering me for the past almost 7 years that I did this." I said, "You know, whatever happened, happened. You know, I'm sure you feel bad, and I must have felt bad too, but we can't live in the past, we have to go on. But thank you very much for being so sincere and honest with me." Out of all the friends that I lost, he was the only one that did that. So there's a lot of education, a lot of sensitization to be done out there, not just in the Greek community, but in every community in Montreal. And someone like me, and many other people like me, have to do this. And it's not a mission I look forward to. It requires a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of energy, and it requires that you have a calm demeanor, which, I don't know about you guys, at a certain point in life, sometimes we get frustrated, we get angry, we might yell and we might bang our fists on the table. And I know I don't have it. There are days I don't want to be in such a situation because I never wanted to be in such a place at this point in my life. But yet, you know, I have to find a way to do it. So that's one thing I found. It's a different way to interact with people who are blind and visual. One of the realities that many blind people deal with, including myself, is the statistics in Canada for employment are really, really not good. At best, according to a study that was done at the CNIB about 5 years ago, about 25 to 30% of all blind people are in the workforce. That means almost 65 to 70% of blind people, either we have to be retrained, or we have to convince employers to give us a chance, or we have to do a major sensitizing campaign to give us that chance to be able to be normal citizens like you guys. And unfortunately, the stats at the last census were not very glowing. There's a lot of work to be done out there to tell employers that just because somebody is blind doesn't mean their life is finished, and doesn't mean that because they're blind they can't be productive members of our society. And unfortunately, in Canada, this is the reality. I wish I could tell Stephen Harper and every premier in this province, of every province, to do something, and something could be done tomorrow, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the story, and it's not going to be the reality. So many organizations that work with blind people, like the CNIB, which is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, the MAB, and others, we have a huge task in front of us, and I don't know if it can be done. I don't know if it can be accomplished in the next 5 to 10 years. It is a massive undertaking that will require a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of awareness. And speaking for myself, I can only do so much. I can't become a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi and make that change happen tomorrow morning. All I can do is play my own little part, but it's going to require your help also. I can only do so much, but the rest, you guys have to become active and write to your member of parliament, write to your member of the National Assembly, or if you live in Ontario, your member of the Legislative Assembly, and make these things happen, because at the end of the day, just because I'm blind, I want the same thing you guys want. I want to have a normal life with whatever possibilities God gives me. You know, I'd like to have, like everybody else, you know, the good-looking girl, the good-looking car. Well, I can't drive, but you understand what I'm getting at. I want to have that house in the suburbs if God ever allows me to have it. And if someone doesn't have good employment prospects, these can't happen. And maybe this new government that's in power right now, the Harvard conservatives, as my teacher likes to call them, my mobility teacher, will do something, but I'm not very optimistic. I hope they prove me wrong and the picture changes in the next 3 to 5 years, but I'm not willing to make any bets. Another thing that many blind people, including myself, have a hard time finding is a life partner. It's very difficult for me to say this to you guys, so I hope you can bear with me. I hope one day when I walk the streets of Montreal, whether it's on St. Croix Boulevard, or here at Vanier, or somewhere in my community, I'll find somebody who will accept me for who I am, with my blindness, with my shortcomings, and my other gifts that I have, and give me a chance. Many of my friends at the Montreal Association for the Blind, when we go for our various treatments and interventions, we'll go home, we'll close the door, and we'll sit in our 4 walls in our house, our apartment, and we're going to be alone. I know I can't change people's perspectives and attitudes and mentalities, but blind people want the same thing you guys want. We want to find somebody to accept us for who we are. We want to find somebody who will look at us as an equal partner. We want to find someone who will accept us and love us and have that companionship that we all want as human beings, whether we happen to be 5 years old or 150 years old. And unfortunately, many blind people, because of our blindness, many members of the opposite sex, and I want to say this before I continue, not all women, okay? I don't want people coming up to me and saying, that's not true, and you're overhyping things, and you're an alarmist. Not all. I agree with you. But a very big percentage of Canadian society and ethnic communities, when they see somebody who's blind or in a wheelchair, human instinct is to say, oh, I'll go for the guy who's tall and very gorgeous and drives a BMW. Well, you know, I'd like to drive a BMW, but unfortunately I can't. And I'd like to have the same thing you guys have. But unfortunately, because I'm blind, I'm constantly trying to bring awareness, sensitize people, and educate people. And I can't find that person. I'm sure she's out there for me somewhere in the city of Montreal. Not just for me, but for all my friends who are blind. But the struggle is vast, and it's very difficult, and it can't be overcome in an hour or a day or a week. It's an ongoing training process, which unfortunately won't happen tomorrow morning. And many of my friends are extremely talented. I have friends of mine who are musicians, who are better writers than me, who are gifted in more ways than myself. And yet, when they leave the Montreal Association for the Blind, or their Braille training or computer training, or mobility, go home and they're alone. And I know I can't change the world, but I would like to hope one day that that you guys, that have all your senses, your hearing, your sight, your sense of smell, will give somebody like me that chance. Because I don't want to walk through this world alone, neither myself or my friends. And I hope that person is somewhere here in this city, and I know they are out there. And I hope that will change in the future. I just wanted to ask, how much time do I have left?
10 minutes.
Okay. Since I'm running low on time, I would like you guys, I wrote a few sheets of Braille paper, a sheet of Braille, and I'd like to show you guys what Braille is like, to give you a real, a different aspect on technology. I know the theme this year is technology and society, so you guys can feel. So at this point, I'd like to ask, I'd like to ask my friend Avi Goldberg. So there's a little sheet, a binder. Just pass those sheets around.
Okay.
I just want to have one sheet so I can help you guys also.
Are they able to keep these?
Yeah, if you can keep them, recycle them. It's really important. Hey, I was a member of the Environmental Club when I was here, so hey, I have to do my part. So just, if you can,
yeah, I'm walking up and I'll hand them out.
I'm sorry I don't have 200 copies, but I made these from real scratch, so I hope you'll bear with me. Does everybody have a copy?
Just going up the aisle, so it'll take a few minutes, but people will get a chance.
Okay, perfect.
You could talk about it.
Can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. On the, as I wrote the sheet of paper, on the top there's a headliner. The same way you guys would write a composition and put a line underneath the topic. Same thing with Braille users. I wrote on the sheet of paper the English alphabet in Braille. I wrote in grade 2 Braille, which is the advanced form of Braille, that I learned with teacher Charlene Webb. And instead of writing some words, I abbreviated. Underneath, in that little square little box that looks like a key, is the most essential aspect of Braille, which is what we call a Braille sum. On the left side is going vertically, so 1, 2, 3. And on the right is 4, 5, 6. Your job as a Braille user is to take these 6 dots and rearrange them to make whatever you think is important so people can read Braille. Underneath it, going from left to right, is the alphabet in Braille. Dot number 1, that single dot, is the A. Going across is B, going across is C. All the way to the letter Z. For us to write the alphabet, we have to rearrange the dots on our Braille typewriter so you guys can understand them. I was going to bring my Braille typewriter today, but unfortunately I had nobody to give me a lift, so I didn't bring it. But I'm hoping maybe next year, if you guys want me back, I'll bring you my Braille typewriter so you can see what it's like. Underneath are some of the abbreviations I use. Underneath the U is a dot, is an abbreviation for EN, which if you go across, you'll see the letters EN, and next to it is the word enough. EN also can be used as abbreviation for the word enough. If you look underneath is SH. Also, if you go across, you'll see SH. The abbreviation SH in the word English can also, it also means shall. So if I'm writing a document in Braille to my teacher, and I want to write the word shall, I don't have to write it, I just use SH, and my teacher will understand. Underneath that is a very common letter or abbreviation we use in Braille called the word the, which looks like a Z, reverse. It's many of the documents that I was learning in Braille had that abbreviation. So it's a very common, one of the most common abbreviations in Braille. Underneath that is the word in, but of course if you scan your fingers across, you see IN. That is another common abbreviation we use in Braille. I also wrote next to, underneath it, BRL, which is an abbreviation for the word Braille. If you scan your fingers across, you can see the word Braille. Of course, underneath that I wrote for, which is a Braille cell. The Braille cell that we use to create Braille, when you abbreviate it, also means for. Underneath that, another word we use in our documents quite a lot is and. It looks like a reverse U. And if you scan your fingers across, you'll see A and D, which is and. Underneath that is another common punctuation mark we use in Braille documents, which I'm sure you guys use too, is period. We use that abbreviation quite a lot. When I write some sort of a document from a Braille teacher so she can judge my progress, I seem to be using this punctuation a lot. And underneath it is probably the most common abbreviation in Braille, which is a number sign, which is on the top of the page all the way at the end of the sentence. You can't go to any government building or university building. I don't know here at Fanny if they have it, the number sign. And that is probably the most common Braille symbol you'll find anywhere in North American society. So that was it. I also wanted to show you guys a piece of machinery I use when I get books called the plexicloth. I won't show it to you now because I'm running low on time. But what this book does is, when we get books from the CNIB or the American Foundation for the Blind, somebody in that organization will write the publisher to get copyright to record a book on audio. And then as a blind user, you'll put your little book in this machine, and it'll tell you the page, it'll tell you the heading, it can find a phrase or a paragraph, and we can do our homework assignments, we can listen to the latest book by John Grisham, if he puts his books on audio, and we can enjoy books. But the only drawback with audiobooks is some of the volunteer readers have very monotonous voices. So if you get a book by John Grisham and the person reading it is like, you know, Kathy went to the store. And you hear this for 24 hours. Let's say the book is 24 hours long. You just want to put it in the little envelope and throw it out your window. So yes, unfortunately, audiobooks are not the greatest, but it beats having nothing at all. I just wanted to thank you guys very much for listening to me and listening to me drag and go on and on. Thank you very much.
We have time for questions. So I'd ask people to please sit down, not to get up and leave. And we got about 10 minutes or so. So Peter's very happy to answer any of your questions at all. So don't be shy, and I ask you to please just, we're not quite done yet. Make sure, I don't have a roving microphone. I want to make sure everyone can hear everyone. So I'll just take one of the microphones and make sure everyone's back here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat the question, Peter? Because I don't know if everyone...
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, so I apologize. The gentleman was asking me when people lose your sight, do your other senses, like your sense of smell, touch, hearing, improve? And I must tell you, being blind for 5 years now, that is probably the most common question I get asked wherever I go. And to answer your question, yes, my sense of smell has become a lot more in tune, and my sense of touch has become a lot more refined than it was when I was sighted, yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Try to speak as loud as you can.
In 2006, if your doctor hadn't given up, could the situation have been avoided if he hadn't stopped treatment?
Thank you, that is a great question.
Did everyone hear the question?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry I'm choking up. It's difficult for me to say this. At that point in 2006, my doctors had exhausted everything. I had gone into the operating room 3 times to try to remove scar tissue and do things to improve my sight so I could have it a little bit longer. I had run out of truck. I was like one of those horses in the Kentucky Derby that had no more room to run, and that was me. And all my avenues were exhausted, so the only step I had left was to become blind.
Yep, go ahead.
Are there many types of Braille?
Yeah, that is an amazing question. I get that question asked a lot. Currently in the world, there are 182 members of the United Nations, and there are 16 languages in Braille. Some of those languages are Russian, Italian, Greek, French, English. I've been trying for the hardest time to get one of those people from the Greek Ministry of Culture to send me the methodology to learn Greek. Unfortunately, to my dismay, I have not received the methodology. So yes, there are many, many languages in Braille, which I only know English and French.
Right in the front.
Hi, I have a question. Hey, I was just wondering, have you acquired any hobbies or types of backgrounds at Oolong, sports or drawing or something?
Yeah, before I came up on stage, I was hanging out with Avi. I have developed some hobbies. Before I lost my eyesight, I was very much into photography. I was a very good photographer. And since that time, I'm a huge fan of radio. I think radio is an amazing medium, and for a blind person, it's godsend. I mean, if I didn't have radio, I'd probably go nuts. Another hobby I've developed a lot is going with my friends to the park and admiring nature. Unfortunately, when it comes to sports, no, I don't play any sports. I was a very good athlete. I was a very good soccer player, and I love playing football, American football. But no, I don't have any sports, and to my dismay, I would like to participate in sports, but there are not many organizations that can teach blind, so at this point in time, I have no sports hobbies now. Just walking.
Peter, I have one question for you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
If you could have a job, what type of work would you be interested in doing? What would be your dream job?
Yeah. My dream job would be working in the radio broadcasting industry. I know it sounds crazy. One of the big networks like Fox or CNN or Bloomberg News, one of those big, company that has 40 stations around North America. And the other would be, I'm a huge fan of music. I love writing, as Avi's told you. I'd like to be working in the record industry. I know it's crazy, but something to do with management or production. I'd love to do that if it were possible.
Yeah, additional questions?
I want to ask it, but I'm not really sure if it sounds rude. But do you enjoy your life more now than you did when you could actually see?
Wow, I've never been asked that question. That is so insightful. Thank you for asking it. There are advantages. if I can say that word, when you're sighted, I miss not being able to see birds and see a beautiful girl. I hope you guys don't take it the wrong way. There are